Ukraine's $45,000 drone swarm hunts down. Russia's $10 million Mi-8, shattering rear area safety.
Звожу.
Лечу в район зосередження.
Звожу глаза.
Today, Ukraine delivers a precision strike that shatters one of Russia's most important rear area-like logistics nodes, inflicting an estimated $34 million in combined aviation, ammunition, operational disruption, and air defense losses. But the true impact does not lie in the destruction of a single helicopter. It lies in the message carried by the two surviving Russian pilots who crawled from the wreckage, realizing they were not shot down by a missile. They were hunted by small plastic drones that cost less than a night of drinking in an officer's mess. This is the story of how a small drone swarm redefined fear inside Russian aviation, and to understand how it unfolded, the narrative returns to the moment the trap was first set. At 2:07 a.m., the Sarabryantski forest was silent, the tree line still wrapped in dense fog as a dark silhouette rose vertically above the pines. This was the Vampire 7, a fixed-wing VTOL hybrid drone engineered specifically for long-range infiltration. Its 35-horsepower gasoline engine worked alongside high-capacity battery packs, creating a hybrid system capable of a 236-mile round-trip mission, far enough to operate deep behind Russian lines while avoiding detection. Inside its belly were 45 liters of fuel and 4 Wild Hornet drones, silent payloads that would later shape the battlefield. Seconds later, its wings leveled. The Vampire 7 slipped into forward flight at 80 feet, cruising at 87 miles per hour, a carefully chosen altitude and speed combination meant to exploit the blind zone of Russia's P-18 Spoon rest radars. These older systems depend on line-of-sight detection, allowing terrain curvature and dense foliage to mask the drone's radar signature. The aircraft became a ghost moving silently through the electromagnetic shadows. For more than an hour, the Vampire 7 followed a pre-programmed ingress route. Russia's rear area operators believed they were safe because the R-330 Zhytel jamming station surrounding the Kutankovo logistics hub projected a cone of electronic noise across a 15-mile radius, severing any hostile drone link. What they overlooked was terrain masking. At ultra-low altitudes, with hills and vegetation blocking direct jamming paths, the Vampire remained protected from the jammers' strongest interference. Ukraine planned this flight path deliberately. At 3:44 a.m., exactly 12 miles from the target zone, the Vampire 7 throttled down. Its cargo bay doors opened smoothly, and 4 Wild Hornet micro-drones tumbled into the freezing darkness. As they fell, their motors spun up and stabilized them. The mothercraft immediately banked away, beginning its long return flight, its mission complete. The released drones did not rush towards the target. A $900 platform does not have the battery reserves to sprint the final 12 miles at high power. Instead, they executed a slow, deliberate advance, a hunting pack moving through the tree line, conserving power and remaining concealed within radar clutter. For nearly 20 minutes, they crept forward, invisible to search radars scanning the upper airspace for larger threats. At 4:03 a.m., the Hornets reached the outer perimeter of the logistics hub. This was when the mosquitoes awoke. 2 Hornets broke formation and rapidly climbed from 30 to nearly 300 feet. It was an obviously suicidal move, one designed not to survive, but to be seen. Inside a Pantsir S-1 air defense vehicle valued at roughly $15 million, radar operators detected fast-moving low-altitude objects. They could not know these were cheap decoys. They only knew protocol. If it flies and appears hostile, eliminate it. 2 57E6 interceptor missiles, each worth around $300,000, launched into the night. In seconds, Russia spent $600,000 to destroy $1,800 worth of plastic. The first 2 Hornets vanished in mid-air, but the third drone performed its specialized task. It released a thermal flare decoy directly into the field of view of the R-330 Zhytel EW station. The sudden heat signature caused the system to retune its jamming focus toward the false threat, diverting much of its emission pattern into the empty sky. For a brief moment, a segment of the battlefield became electronically quiet. That calm was deceptive. Below, the Panzer's 30mm autocannons roared as they attempted to hit the 4th Hornet. The sky filled with tungsten rounds, reflective chaff, missile exhaust, and debris. Across the hub, radar screens became cluttered with false echoes, what operators refer to as a snowstorm. This moment of chaos was exactly what Ukraine needed. 5 miles away, resting just 18 feet above the ground within thick fog, another machine had been watching quietly. This was the FP-1 Reaper, a loitering munition that arrived 23 minutes earlier using a separate path. Its operator kept engine output at only 30%, hiding it acoustically beneath the ambient noise of the distant base. Its thermal optics were already locked on the landing zone. The drone waited with 82% battery remaining, ready for the final cue. At 4:05 a.m., the golden window appeared. The incoming Mi-8 helicopter, valued at roughly $10 million, approached low at 150 feet, trusting the defensive shield around Kutankovo. The pilots saw the distant tracer fire, but were briefed that the base's air defenses sometimes engaged drone nuisance attacks. As they attempted to radio for landing clearance, their transmission was blocked by their own EW system. The base commander ordered the jamming system halted for an 8-second window. That brief electronic silence was all the Reaper required. A controller in Kyiv confirmed that the attack window was open, clearing the Reaper to proceed. The Reaper surged forward, leaping from loiter mode into attack speed, accelerating to 155 miles per hour, just inches above the wet grass. Fog masked its approach. The Panzer crew, overwhelmed and fatigued, kept their radar search pattern focused upward, precisely where the real threat was not. As the Mi-8 began its landing flare, its twin exhaust ports glowed hot through the Reaper's infrared camera. The co-pilot identified the drone at the helicopter's 3 o'clock low and urgently instructed the pilot to brake left. The pilot reacted instantly, slamming the cyclic to tilt the helicopter's nose and trying to bring its armored belly towards the threat. The large airframe strained and began to lose lift during the maneuver. The Reaper overshot momentarily. The operator flipped the drone into a tight correction turn, its carbon frame trembling under the stress. Then, the helicopter's PKM door gunner opened fire. Tracers ripped through the mist. Through the Reaper's feed, the operator saw green streaks cutting inches from the camera. He flew through violent rotor wash, the drone bucking as turbulence tore at its small airframe. But he was not aiming at the cockpit. He was aiming at the one component a helicopter cannot armor, the tail rotor assembly. As the Mi-8 descended rapidly, just 60 feet above the concrete, the master rotor blast kicked up a storm of dust and gravel. The Reaper pushed through the turbulence. A tracer round clipped its landing leg, throwing static across the video feed. For a moment, the operator thought he had lost the drone. Then the image recovered, and the spinning tail rotor dominated the entire frame. At 4:07 a.m., the Reaper struck. Its 30-pound tandem-shaped charge warhead detonated. A jet of molten copper, traveling at 22,000 miles per hour, pierced the tail rotor drive shaft. With the torque unbalanced, the helicopter instantly spun in the opposite direction. Lift vanished. The Mi-8 collapsed from the air, smashing into the concrete pad. Fuel ruptured. The ammunition inside began to cook off, but the pilots survived, and their survival was intentional. A shaped charge does not vaporize an aircraft. It performs a precise amputation. The helicopter shattered upon impact, spilling burning fuel, but it did not explode with the force that kills instantly. This allowed the pilots to crawl from the wreckage, dazed, bleeding, but alive. A surviving pilot becomes a witness. A witness becomes a messenger. A messenger spreads fear. Within hours, footage captured by the Leica 100 observation drone circulated across Russian social channels. Pilots wrote comments not of anger, but of raw fear. For the first time, they realized that rear area safety was an illusion, that drones could navigate through jamming fields and air defense networks designed to protect them. Meanwhile, the destruction of this single helicopter froze the entire Kutankovo node. No flights landed for 48 hours as investigators and bomb disposal teams secured the crash site. Units more than 100 miles from the front waited for ammunition shipments that never arrived. That disruption, combined with the destroyed aircraft, spent interceptors, burnt munitions, and infrastructure damage, contributed to Russia's $34 million total losses. Ukraine, by contrast, spent about $45,000 total. The Vampire 7, the Hornet decoys, and the FP-1 Reaper combined. A return on investment exceeding 22,000%, but more importantly, a demonstration that innovation can defeat mass. Today, Russia faces a strategic crisis. If it pulls air defenses back to protect rear hubs, frontline troops become vulnerable to Ukrainian jets. If it keeps defenses forward, logistics flights will continue to be hunted, one by one. There is no easy response to a threat that costs less than a used car, yet can destroy millions in equipment. In the end, Ukraine did not just cripple a logistics hub. It shattered Russian confidence. It introduced uncertainty into every pilot's mind. And as those two surviving Mi-8 crewmen stare at the twisted remains of their machine, one question now echoes across Russia's aviation units: whether any pilot will willingly climb back into a cockpit knowing that a plastic drone can hunt them 100 miles behind the lines.